Just pop up. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR 96.3, 96.3 HD2, and Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Bramante Bryant in for Harold Fisher. This is the Insight segment, and this is the time of the week where we get to talk sports. Hey, Commanders and Cowboys are coming up this week. Just even saying Commanders and Cowboys coming up on Sunday. NFL Jets fire their general manager. The Giants bench their quarterback. NBA, the Cavs winning streak finally comes to an end in the ring. It was Tyson and Jake Paul. What do we even think of that fight if it kind of was a fight? That and plenty more. Tonight, our guest, Wisdom Martin, is back as usual. He's a news anchor with WUSA Channel 9. He's also the author of Pass Interference, the history of the black quarterback in the NFL. Also joining us is Felix Trammell. He's the Commanders beat reporter for 1340 AM Fox Sports. That's out of Richmond, Virginia area. So make sure you give a listen. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, Wisdom and Felix.
I appreciate you having
me. Glad to be on, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So Wisdom, you know, you're used to this. I always look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm biased here. I'm a Commanders fan.
Yep.
Grew up a Commanders fan. So we're going to start with the Commanders. They've got the Cowboys coming in. Cowboys are limping in on Sunday. Commanders coming off a 2-game losing streak. Wisdom, you do the Commanders. Is it the pregame? You do the pregame show, right?
The pregame show on Sundays at 11:30. Yes.
Yeah, right. So so you all in on the Commanders and what's going on? What's your thoughts coming in to Sunday's game? Commanders got to kind of, break this losing streak. Even though they lost to 2 very good teams, they still lost.
Right. They lost to 2 very good teams, and this is a get-right game. Dallas is not. You said Dallas is limping. Dallas is on life support. Their season is over. If Cooper Rush rolls out,
be nice, Wisdom. Be nice. Be nice.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be nice because I know there's a lot of Cowboy fans in this.
That's
area,
right.
But man, they are dead to rights. Mike McCarthy is gonna. This is his last year as coach. Cooper Rush is rolling out there. He looks like I think the 3 of us can play better than him. And I mean, they're just awful. They got Ezekiel Elliott back. I don't even know who's in the backfield anymore. Without Dak Prescott, they're in free fall. Jerry's up there doing his Jerry thing. This is a get-right game. Perfect timing for the Commanders. I know that the Commanders have lost 2 in a row, but they've lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a very good team, and Russell Wilson, and they had a very good running game. Then they lost. They lost to the Eagles with Saquon Barkley. Tremendous running back. I mean, Barkley had 146 yards. So that was
he's NFL MVP caliber right now.
Oh, absolutely. He should be the front runner. But you know how the NFL, they don't like running backs. They only like quarterbacks at this point. But they lost to 2 very good football teams. I wasn't surprised by that. I still think that Jaden Daniels is solid. I think the team is solid. They got some holes on defense. I think the Dallas game is a get-right game. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, I hate to say it because I'm usually wrong, but in this case, I think I'm right. I think they're going to cruise against Dallas.
Don't do it, Wisdom. Felix, don't let him do it. Okay.
I know it's written for it to be a wash, but I don't trust it. And the reason I don't trust it is this is the game that they'll get up for. Now, Cowboys are terrible. We all know that. Cooper Rush shouldn't be an NFL quarterback. They're in free for all. They got money problems. They got a $260 million quarterback they kind of don't want, but he covers up all the flaws. Like it gets deeper. But the issue is they're going to get up for this game. And a lot of those players do like Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn did do a lot for that team. So I do think Washington wins, but I don't think it's going to be 50-0. No, I think the Cowboys are going to put up a fight. They do have some pieces still out there. Michael Parsons is still running around, a couple other things. But if you put the game in Cooper Rush's hands, you should be able to beat Cooper Rush. The defense, for all their flaws, they were up 10-6 on the Eagles in the 4th quarter with Saquon and Jalen Hurts. Like, that's the kind of team they have. So they had kind of ran out of gas. They had played a lot of games. It was a tough loss to the Steelers. You play that short week in a division game. So now they're going to be rested and recalibrated. And I do believe they do win the game, but I don't think it's going to be a total wash. I think the Cowboys put up a fight, but I think in the second half, that's when the Commanders will distance themselves. Brian Robinson is going to start running the ball, lean on them a little bit, get them out the way. And then Washington will be able to relax and kind of get back in the flow that they had earlier in the season.
Okay, so this is what I know. Growing up a Redskin Commanders fan, they play down. They play down to their competition. So that's my worry. But I want to stay with the Cowboys for a minute because Wisdom, you wrote a book on quarterbacks, specifically black quarterbacks.
Yes.
Cowboys have a black quarterback who they're paying $5 million a year as a backup quarterback. Why not just put in Trey Lance? Just see what he can do. Actually, I hope that they don't. And to you all's point, you leave in Cooper Rush. But I'm wondering, like, why don't they just play this guy?
Well, at some point they probably will, because I don't think it's going to go well for the rest of the season with Cooper Rush. I think they will have to see what they have with Trey Lance, if nothing else, to put him in there to get some trade value, maybe get some trade value once Dak comes back. So he will play, and I think if this game gets out of hand, or if he rolls out there and plays like he's been playing, at some point we might see Trey Lance. Now, whether he'll have an impact or not, because again, I think it's deeper than the quarterback position. I think they should have had, over the last couple of years, had a greater appreciation for Dak Prescott, because like you said, Felix, he covers up for a lot of things that they have on that team, and he's been doing that for years. You remember a couple of years ago when he got hurt and they went into free fall, and they still didn't give him any love and any respect, and now they're in that same position again, where Dak Prescott, every time they win a game, it's kind of like, and every time they would lose a game with Dak Prescott, it was like, oh, Dak. Dak doesn't play defense. And so that it wasn't all Dak Prescott, but I know he gets a lot of the blame because he's the star of America's team. So at some point, Trey Lance is going to have to get out there at some point.
All right, Felix, I'm going to stay on the quarterback thing. Look, I love Jaden Daniels, right? Not only for his play, I just love the way he approaches the game, the way he deals with the media. I said right off the bat, okay, I like this kid because he's got it. I've seen the last two young quarterbacks we brought in here, and I'm like, something ain't right with those last two. I mean it. It was a first take. You asked my son if I got him on the show. I was like, God bless his soul. But, Haskins at that draft, when he talked about the Giants, they done messed up. I'm like, okay, he don't get it. He just been drafted first round. You don't talk about the Giants. You talk about the team you're going to. And Robert Griffin III, again, head case. So now we got Jaden Daniels. But those last two games, I'm sorry, he has not played well. He's thrown some balls in the dirt. I know Quinn says he's not hurt. To me, he's kind of playing like he's hurt. So I don't know if he wants to say he's not hurt because he doesn't want the opposite team, the opposing team, to sort of go after him. What's your take on Jaden Daniels' play? Again, for me, he hasn't played that well, but I know his standard really is pretty high. Some would say, well, the way he's played the last two games is still better than most NFL quarterbacks.
And that's a very good point. Like, he's not hurt. Let's just put it at that. He's not hurt, but he played two top defensive lines. The Steelers really hit him. That was a very physical game. But then right behind it was the Eagles, and they are very good up front. So he started to do some bad habits, throw off his back foot, try to get the ball out quick. If you notice the Steelers game, everything was coming out so fast. That contributed to a lot of the drops that you saw. But those are two good defenses. Those are two elite defenses. Now, so everyone take a deep breath, relax. Like, they still scored 27 on the Steelers when the Ravens couldn't get 15 on the Steelers. So, like, you got to look at it. There's,
good point.
Ways to see at it. So Jaden is fine. You got to think about it. He's coming from college. They had 11 straight games in a row. That his body's not used to that. Even with the injury, you got to adjust to the NFL because those are bigger, faster, stronger guys. So he had a little rut in the road. And I think the Steelers game, they probably win if Brian Robinson plays. But, he didn't play, so he had to compensate for that. And they're playing him to keep him in the pocket. So now, where's the adjustment happen now? Because teams weren't doing like the Browns did early in the season. They just kept sitting in the house, and Jaden would run right around the outside and just log down the field. So teams are adjusting. So he's kind of hit that rookie kind of wall, but it's not like he played bad because he still only had one turnover against these two defenses. So, like, you got to take everything into accountability there. But he's not hurt. If he was hurt, this new regime wouldn't have him out there. This is a different regime. They don't play that sort of thing where all in for week one like RG3 was and all those sort of cliche things. If he's hurt, he wouldn't be out there. So he's just adjusting to the grind of the NFL season, because this is longer than what you do in college. You would have played some directional school and beat them by 60 and get all that sort of stuff. You don't get that in the NFL. Even those bad teams still play good. So he just kind of hit that rookie wall. He's not hurt, but he's going to have to adjust, because the league adjusts. Now, what's your next adjustment? And I think he has the sense and the drive to do it. And he wants to be a pocket quarterback. He doesn't want to run. He wants to be a pocket quarterback. And that's how he's playing. So I expect good things out of him on Sunday.
What's your take, Wisdom, on Jaden? Am I being too hard on him? Because again, I don't think he played that well to me.
Right. Well, I agree totally with what Felix was saying. He was against two really solid football teams. Those two teams could potentially meet in the Super Bowl. That's how good of a teams Philly and Pittsburgh were. Solid coaches. I mean, I know Sirianni was in trouble there for a minute. And we know Mike Tomlin's a great football coach. He's not just solid. He's a great football coach. And he has a great record against rookie quarterbacks. Jaden is good. The issue is he set the bar so high coming out of the gate. It was like through the roof. And now that if he comes back down to a regular level, we're like, oh, no, well. But, I mean, he was playing like out of his mind. He was playing at an MVP level up until 2 weeks ago or so. So I think everything's fine. Felix said it. The league makes adjustments depending on who you're playing week to week. There will be some growing pains because after all, he still is a rookie. We forget that because the bar was so high. But I think he's fine, and that's why I think this week will do a lot for him in one of those get right games. And then we'll see what happens from here moving forward. But I think that Jaden, I think he's fine. And Bramante, you hit on this. When I was at a training camp at the beginning of the season, I'm like you. I said the exact same thing you said. Right. Watching him move and the way he worked the room when the press in front of the press and how he was dealing with the other players, completely. I know we're under a new regime too. That has a lot to do with it, and new coaches who are actually coaching. But he has that something about him where he's calm, he's cool, collected. He's talking about team. He's not me. He's not talking that feelings like you said, that all in for week one nonsense or whatever that, there's none of that. And when I see him, I see a guy who I think he's in it for the long haul, unless there's something that goes horribly wrong, which I'm praying that it doesn't. I think this guy is 100% legit. Even if he goes through some rough patches this year, I think he's going to be fine. I think for the next 5 to 10 years, Washington finally has their guy. So everybody needs to just relax and calm down. Even if it doesn't go well from here on out, there's a lot there to work with and a lot there to build on for the future.
And one last wisdom on that, the Steelers were coming off a bye. The Eagles have had their bye. Yep. The Commanders had their bye. They were physically and emotionally drained. So take that into accountability. Mike Tomlin with 2 weeks to plan for you is going to give you something good. And he's doing something at them that they didn't expect. So
that's something probably the Commanders need to call the NFL office, because I think the last couple of years they've had buys very late in the season. So
3 years in a row they've had the last week.
Somebody needs to make a complaint. All right, we're going to take a break and go over to the other side. But before we do, Felix, if folks want to listen to you, find you, how can they do that?
You can find me on X, not for that long, on Blue Sky, B Commander 240.
Another show, right?
Right. And on Instagram, you can find all my work on 1340amfoxsports.com, all my coverage of the Commanders.
All right. How about you, Wisdom? Folks want to find you and find how they can find your book.
Yes, you can find my book everywhere where books are sold. Amazon.com. Watch me on TV, WSA9. We have a streaming app right now. You can watch it on that too, WSA9 Plus. And you can find me on social media. Just type in my name. You'll see my big head on there with my big goofy smile, and you'll be able to find me, Wisdom Martin TV.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Don't forget, you can hear every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com, or you can download the 96.3 HD2 app on your smartphone and hear the program live in its entirety. This conversation will continue online and on SiriusXM channel 141 and 96.3 HD2. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is up next on 96.3 WHUR. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141 and 96.3 HD2. I'm Bramante Bryan in for Harold Fisher. This is the Insight segment. Tonight we are talking sports with my two buddies tonight. Is Alex Trammell and Wisdom Martin. I want to stay in the NFL for a quick minute. I kind of want to go back to the Cowboys for a quick second, Wisdom. Because if I had been on the air and had been on the drum last week with this show, I kind of was losing my mind with Micah Parsons. All right. This thing, look, say what you want about Mike McCarthy. The guy has won a Super Bowl. Okay. 3 years running, they won over 12 games or at least 12 games, right? And I want to get you and Alex's thought as the Cowboys come in, right? Just this whole thing with these players who basically say whatever they want. And Micah Parsons basically coming out saying, and Mike McCarthy has never worked as hard as Zach Martin. So I'm kind of resurrecting an old story, but I've been holding on to this because I really wanted to get some opinions on this because I thought, there was a lot of pushback on him, but I thought really going after a coach and how hard they work. And I wanted to know if I was on the extreme side thinking, I almost felt like he should have been benched in some aspects. What are your thoughts on what Parsons had to say?
Well, I don't think it was. I think it was, and I'm sounding like a player now after the fact. I think it was taken out of context. That's what the players always say when they
Boo. All right, Felix, over to you. Come on, Wisdom. Don't do that. We got it on tape. We heard what the man said. Now, maybe he doesn't speak clearly
real quick, before Felix jumps in. So here's my thing with the Dallas Cowboys and that comment, and it coming from Micah Parsons, who's a star player, who basically in a bad season, you can't really, unless he's hurt, you can't deal without him. A lot of this trickles down from the top with Jerry Jones and the organization. When you have Jerry Jones, the owner, who is making all the calls, and he loves his star players. The star players feel like we can say what we want because we're beholden to Jerry. We're not beholden to Mike McCarthy. We don't owe him anything. We owe it all to Jerry. So as long as Jerry's happy and allows us to do this, we're good. Because Mike McCarthy probably won't be here next year. So that's my take on that. And that's why he felt like he could say those type of things, because they don't really care about Mike McCarthy as long as Jerry's good. And Jerry's always down, and Jerry's always making statements. So Jerry's in charge. And this team, our team here in Washington, is very familiar with that kind of mindset, except for, the guy who was out of here, who used to own this team. He didn't jump in front of the mic, but he was kind of like that same, everybody runs, the favorite players run to him and bypass the coaches. And I think that's the bigger issue for Dallas.
All right. What's your thoughts on that, Felix? Am I overdoing it?
I think Wisdom's right, but you do make a point. And the problem,
where are my other guests here?
I do agree with you. Micah feels entitled to say that because no one checks the coach. They all go to Jerry, and that's been a problem since Bill Parcells left. Bill Parcells was the last Dallas coach that would go stand up to Jerry Jones. After that, everybody's been a shill. They're just a figurehead for him. But Micah can say that because he probably does feel that. And he's probably not the only one on the team that can feel that. But who's going to punish him? It's not going to be Jerry. Jerry's got to pay the man soon. So Jerry's not going to say anything to him. And he's not going to allow him to get benched because he has that free-for-all. That's why he has the podcast. That's why all these Cowboys do these sort of media things, because they can. It's the show. It's the entertainment. Because you don't see this sort of stuff in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin.
Right.
You didn't see those things in New England, with Belichick. Those things didn't happen. Those players didn't talk. So now in Dallas, you have free reign to do that. That's why they do that. CD went out there and complained and blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing it. Pay me. Dak, they had that whole saga with the joint. Pay me. Micah's going to start the pay me train soon because it's his turn. Like, he's standing up for guys. He's like, well, they've played forever, da-da-da-da-da. But y'all are some of the reasons why that team, even though you win all those games, you don't win in the playoffs. The players would make the mistakes on the field. So, Mike McCarthy's a dead man walking. We all agree with that. but there's no respect for the coach because it's the Dallas Cowboys. If I have a problem, Jerry's going to come in the locker room anyway. Jerry does press once a week. I mean, what other owner you see that does press once a week? He gets on the radio and he talks.
And let me say this too.
The game. That's
how the
Cowboys are.
I think he holds his weekly press conferences too, the same time as Mike McCarthy is holding his press conference. So we're going to get off the NFL real quick, but I did want to get you all's thoughts because now Deion is somewhat intersecting with this Cowboy story, Deion Sanders. I wanted to talk about what he's doing on the college level with Colorado. I mean, he may get them into the BCS, but they're also talking about him possibly being a candidate for the Cowboys job if they would draft his son Shedeur. First of all, I couldn't see him working for Jerry Jones. I mean, yes, Deion is a showman, but Jerry wants to be the bigger showman. I just cannot see that, even though there's some rumblings and Deion says, hey, I got the kickstand out. I'm good here with Colorado. I'm not really going anywhere, but Wisdom, I'm going to come back to you first on this just because he was at your alma mater and said, I'm good here.
Right.
Jackson State, I ain't trying to go nowhere. Then boom, he's up in the mountains. So let's talk about that. Is he a viable candidate for the Cowboys job?
I think this is his job if he wants it, because here's the thing with Deion. Deion is all about Shedeur Sanders. You can say all you want about Colorado or any other college team, but Shedeur is not going to play college anymore. Shedeur is going to be in the pros. If the Dallas Cowboys can somehow, by hook or crook, get Shedeur Sanders on that roster, Deion is gone, and he will be coaching the Dallas Cowboys, and Dak will be on borrowed time. I totally see, and I know Jerry's an egomaniac. So is Deion. I don't know how that would work, but I'm telling you now, Deion loves that boy, and he wants. That's his. Ooh, you can tell. So,
but wouldn't
Dallas?
But wouldn't that Wisdom though, and Felix, and I haven't really heard this though. I don't see how that could not cause some kind of fissures within the locker room if your son is the potential starting quarterback and you're the head coach. And would Deion pull his son if he needed to pull him?
I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening just because that's a headache. That I don't know if Deion wants that headache. I think Deion's going to Florida State. I think that's where he's going. Florida State's probably sitting in Boulder right now, waiting on Colorado's season's over and give him a blank check. That's where I think Deion needs to go. Now, the Cowboys, it makes sense from the show because if Deion's the coach and Dak's the starter and Shedeur's there, that's every talk for the whole season is going to be 90% about them. And as a player, how do you trust that? Okay, like Dak, how do you play in that situation?
That's my point.
No one's taking that contract for Dak Prescott coming off these big injuries. So that would be a CF, as the old folks would say. But I do believe that Deion's going to Florida State. And I think Florida State's going to do whatever they can to get him there and give him the blank check he needs. Because Colorado is a byproduct, like he used Jackson State to promote his brand. If he goes to Florida State, he's a legend. He's the king of Florida. He would just walk down there. And I think college game suits him more because college is more about the coaches versus the NFL, which is more about the players. So I think that's where he goes. But if Jerry was able to do that, I don't even know who's the biggest star on the Dallas Cowboys anymore. Is it Jerry Jones? Is it Micah Parsons? Is it Deion Sanders? Is it Shedeur Sanders? It would be a mess. But I'd say this: if that previous guy that was here in Washington had a pick and could sign Deion, he would have done it. I guarantee you, he would have done it, and it would have been a mess here in Washington.
Yes, without a doubt. Last little thing on the NFL, real quick: Giants bench Daniel Jones. I don't know if that's as much about play or as much about that contract where if he gets hurt, they have to sort of pay him some guaranteed money. Jets fire Douglas, their GM. And on Sunday, the Chiefs finally lose. So that's sort of three-headed monster. Number one, surprise. I don't think anybody was surprised Buffalo won. But do you think the Bills now ascend above the Chiefs, right? And how we look at the AFC, and I mean we can hit the Jets and the Giants, but let's start with the Chiefs in the game against the Bills. Felix, what's your thoughts on the Bills and the Chiefs in that game? I was a little surprised that the Chiefs. I mean, they didn't play, especially Patrick Mahomes, as well as I had expected.
If you kind of look at the games this year, that's kind of how the Chiefs have played. They haven't looked dominant. They've just found the weirdest ways to win. You saw the Denver one with the blocked field goal, and they won 17-10 at the Rams, and he didn't throw a touchdown pass. And they're kind of piecing stuff together, but they were winning because they have that pedigree. Going to Buffalo is not an easy place. If you've been there, it is not an easy place to play, and everyone's coming for them. And Buffalo had the talent to overcome the Chiefs' moxie. So now it becomes, how can the Chiefs reset themselves? Because we know what happens in December and January with the Chiefs. Can you finish above them and make them have to come to you on the road? And I think Baltimore's tried to do it. Buffalo's tried to do it. The Cincinnati's tried to do it. Like Cleveland's tried to do it. Everyone's tried to do it, but no one's been successful. So I think it's more of the Chiefs have been playing this way all year, and they ran into a team that defeated that. So I still would put them as one, but Buffalo's on their heels. I think Pittsburgh is really, really, really good. And I think Baltimore's right there too. So it's going to be about matchups and who they match up the best against. But I think that was a product of what you were seeing all season. It looked like it was going to catch up to them, and it finally did.
Yeah.
Are the Ravens in trouble, Wisdom?
I don't think I don't know if they're in trouble. As long as you have Lamar Jackson, you're always in a good place and in good space. Their defense is kind of suspect because they do blow they still blowing leads and still do. I can't figure out why, this is like the third year in a row where they have withholding leads. I don't understand what that's about. But as long as you got Lamar, you got a great shot at winning the whole thing because he's phenomenal. Even if he has a down game, you still got Lamar for the next game. I agree with you, Felix. You better watch the Steelers because they are hitting their stride. And Russell Wilson, everybody slept on him. Now he's out there doing his thing. Stats might not be gaudy, but he's making it happen when he needs to. They didn't do well on offense as far as scoring touchdowns last week, but they got the job done. Buffalo and Kansas City. Kansas City, to me, I don't expect much from them because this would be their third straight if they were able to even get to the Super Bowl, which I think is almost impossible. I think the struggle is real for if you're trying to go to 3 straight Super Bowls and if you're trying to win it. I think that's like mission impossible. Should you choose to accept it, they should say no because it's just too hard to do. Nobody's ever done that. And Buffalo is they're a very good football team. This could be their year. It could be Pittsburgh's year. It could be the Ravens' year. So I just think Kansas City is fortunate to get to this point. Patrick Mahomes and the Magic, Andy Reid and the Magic, they got a lot of weapons on offense. But at some point, you can't go to the Super Bowl every single year and win it every single year. And I don't think they're going to. I love them. I love what they do. I love everything about them. But I just don't think that they're able to do it 3 years in a row.
I did have one last NFL thing. This week, the 25 finalists for the Hall of Fame came out. And obviously, we won't go through all 25. Locally, I know a lot of folks are still upset. Brian Mitchell didn't make those 25. Even Hester, I can't remember his first name. Devin Hester. He even gave him a shout out in his induction speech. But Eli Manning is in that 25, and I just think he is such a bellwether for a conversation. I'm with you, Wisdom. I'm with you. Yes, he's won 2 Super Bowls, but let me tell you, Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls.
Yep,
that's true.
Jim Plunkett ain't in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And if you just look at Eli's numbers, I mean, if you take away the Super Bowls, I mean, that's easy to say, but I just don't think he is a Hall of Famer. Felix, I'll go back to you, Wisdom, because you already gave me the thumbs down.
Yeah. So, I agree talent-wise, but he beat the GOAT twice. And I think there's 2 reasons. He beat the GOAT twice, and his name is Manning. That is the 2 reasons why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I've had this discussion with many friends, a lot of people. They're like, Eli's not that good. They won the Super Bowl 14-7. How many people beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Like, it's only been 2, and he did it twice. So that, with his name being Manning, is going to get him there. And we all know Brian Mitchell should be in the Hall of Fame. There's a couple more of the Hogs that should be in the Hall of Fame. There's legit discussions. But quarterback, it's a quarterback league. Mm-hmm. It's one of those names of the league, Manning. So it's that guy, that cachet, and then he has the 2 Super Bowls. So by that, he's going to get in. But does that mean he's one of the best quarterbacks ever? No. But I mean, you could also say Terry Bradshaw wasn't the best quarterback ever. I mean, he won 4, but he wasn't like lighting up the world. So it's going along those lines. But the only reason he's in there, Manning, and he beat Tom Brady twice. That's
all right. Wisdom, you gave it a thumbs down, but I'll let you give the audio version of your opinion.
Look, simply put, his last name is Manning, period. If his name wasn't Manning, we wouldn't even be. If he won 2 Super Bowls, even if he beat Tom Brady in both of those Super Bowls, and his last name was, if his name was Johnson or Martin, with those stats and that career, no chance. This is all about Manning and the last name. And he may be a good quarterback, but Hall of Fame status, no.
I agree.
Totally. And where's my man? By the way, Bravante and Felix, where's my man Jimmy Smith from Jackson State who played with the Jaguars? Where is he? Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? You know I'm going to rap for my school. You know I'm going to rap for my school.
That's true.
And Brian Mitchell should definitely be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and I think they have Fred Taylor, Jacksonville. His teammate was in the final 25. I was like, Fred Taylor, Hall of Famer.
Right.
I mean, just because you're in the final 25 doesn't mean you're in the Hall of Fame. But the fact that you get there and Brian Mitchell, all-purpose yardage, he doesn't even make the final 25. That's kind of tough for me.
Yeah.
All right. I usually, for me, I don't even pay attention to the NBA till it gets into the last 2 weeks of the season and we start getting the playoffs. I'm like that with Major League Baseball. Just the games are just too many games. But I do think the Cavaliers are worth talking about. I mean, the Cavaliers, no LeBron James. Cavaliers 15-0, right? Play the defending champion Celtics, play them down to the wire. Any thoughts on the Cavaliers? Are they real? I've heard discussion like, hey, this could be a preview of the Eastern Conference championship series. I'm like, really? Are the Cavaliers for real? Is it too early, Felix, for us to even go there?
I think it is because the NBA is such a long season. Like, it's really bad because, the Celtics first 2 weeks of the season, they were like, well, they've already got the championship locked in. And then you hit ruts. People get hurt. Like, you get weird stretches of games. Like, some team, you're playing on a back-to-back. Some teams sat for 2 days. Like, the NBA is so fluid. But do I think they're a contender? Yes. But do I have them on the same level as the Celtics? No, because the Celtics overall are a better team. Now, the gauntlet's going to start to happen. The Knicks are pretty good. Orlando's playing well, and when Banchero comes back, I think they will get back to the form they had. They're a really good young team. Lord knows what's happening with the Sixers. I need Harris to just focus on the Commanders. Let the Sixers But I think they're in that next level tier that can challenge the Celtics. But I still think the Celtics are the kings of the East. But like you said, out of your mouth, it's November. The NBA doesn't start till May. So it's right now they're pretty good, and it's just hard to be undefeated. The same thing with the Chiefs we were talking about in the NFL, that being undefeated wears you out. And I think that's what happened with the Cavs. They were going to lose eventually, but I think they're a very good team, but I don't put them as the favorites in the East. That's still going to go through Boston and Boston Garden.
Yeah, it was a long that was a good little run though, Wisdom.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I got to tell you, I was shocked. I love Donovan Mitchell's game. I think he's phenomenal, one of the best players in the NBA. And the fact that they had that incredible start to the season is amazing. And I'm stunned by it. But I have to agree. I know we're agreeing a lot on this show, which we're probably not supposed to. But I agree. I think they're a good team. They're not the Celtics, because the Celtics, I think, are a great team. They're the defending champs, barring injuries. And like you said, it's a long season, the travel, the sixth man when you go to these and you know what I'm talking about when I say the sixth man when you go to these other cities. The club.
The club. Right?
That's the sixth man. That's right.
That's the sixth man. So I think there's a lot of different factors that go into a long NBA season. How hungry are you after you've won the championship? If you haven't won the championship, how hungry are you as you get closer and closer to the playoffs? And then once you get to the playoffs, now you're not playing against a bunch of average teams and lower level teams, and then one good team here and there. You're playing against the best of the best in the playoffs, and you have to play them every night until somebody wins 4 games. So I think that it really is too early to call it right now. The Knicks are still trying to find their way. I think they're doing pretty good. So it's a lot of different factors out there. But the Cavaliers, you can't take anything away from them. They've been incredibly good so far. At least they're not like the Wizards.
The Wizards, don't the Wizards and the Sixers have like the same record? I mean, what are we doing?
The Wizards are doing exactly what they need to do.
I know.
They got to get one more stud. They got to keep tanking. They're doing great.
I know.
Just turn the alerts off. I know.
It's just hard. I got my Bullets hat hanging here somewhere behind me over here to the left. I'm telling you how old I am. But Wisdom, your Lakers, third in the West.
Because here's why. Because just like we just said, when you start the season with the Lakers,
LeBron.
LeBron's not the issue. LeBron's not the issue. Bronny's not even the issue. I know that's the sideshow. Bronny's not even the issue.
Okay.
But right now, you start the season, Anthony Davis is killing it. Until he gets a hangnail and then he's done for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
And then, everything falls apart. So that's all I got to say about the Lakers. If Anthony Davis can make it past all of those injuries and whatever else is going on in his world, they might have a shot. But Anthony Davis is the key. And JJ Redick with his no coaching behind, I don't know how that even happened.
Oh, really? You're not a JJ fan? No?
Well, as a basketball player, yes. As a commentator, yes. But he had zero experience to be coaching one of the greatest franchises in basketball.
Well, he did a podcast, though, with LeBron, right?
Well, there is that. Connections. So, yeah. So
I agree with Wisdom. Like, I always say this, and people think I'm a Bron hater, but the most important player on the Lakers is Anthony Davis. LeBron's the best player. AD is the most important player. And when AD gets those phantom injuries and ankle rolls running up the court, then he turns into this shell where you're like, you should be the most dominant person in the league, and he never played like it. And then you have these spurts of 3 weeks and maybe a month where he just obliterates everybody. You're like, that's what AD is supposed to be. But that's what typically happens. And then they get in a series, and you're like, here we go again. Ron's playing 40 minutes at 40, and then they're hoping on some guy on a 10-day contract to make shots, and you're like, why are we going to do this again? So I think LeBron's LeBron. That's outstanding. But AD, do you expect AD to do this the whole season? It would be nice, but I don't expect it because it doesn't. He's never proven that. So I think the Lakers are where they are right now, but the West is whatever. It's all over the place, but it's about being right in April and May. Yeah, and the chances of that happening with all parts going together for the Lakers, it's not that good, maybe. And I'm a JJ guy. I'm a Duke guy. I still don't see how he's the head coach of the Lakers. He's a smart basketball mind. There are a bunch of smart basketball minds, but coaching's different. Like, it's motivation, it's pushing buttons, it's putting the right people at the right time in the right situation to make the right play. And his only experience was coaching like 7-year-olds. So I wouldn't have hired him, but I mean, that's the Lakers. I'm a Lakers fan, but it's somebody that's cool with LeBron, and every coach has got to be cool with LeBron anyway. So I think the Lakers are doing well, but it's all on Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis can be the MVP and give you 28 and 12 for the whole season, then the Lakers have a shot. But if that's not the case, a 41-year-old LeBron is not going to get you there. Right.
Okay. Well, that's fair. All right, I'm going to go from the court to the ring. First of all, did you guys see the Tyson Jake Paul fight? Did you see it, Felix?
I saw two people in the ring, but I wouldn't say I saw a fight. That's two different things. But I saw two people in the ring at AT&T Stadium. Yes.
All right. Did you see anything, Wisdom? Did you see the event?
I saw the highlights of it, and it was awful.
Okay.
From what I saw was off. And look, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told that they had to go a certain amount of rounds for Tyson to get a whole bunch of money. I
I
can't
was
remember.
told the fourth round they had to get to 4 to get paid.
Yeah,
That's what I saw.
Because Jake Paul said he did let up.
yeah.
He did say that, right?
If you look at the video, you'll see several clips, unless it's AI and edited, which is highly possible these days,
Right.
where Mike Tyson was about to knock him out, and he's like, "Oh well, it ain't the fourth round yet. I got to get this money." So, to me, it was like the WWE. That's what it looked like to me from the highlights. I was like, "This is garbage." Mike Tyson, what, 58
Yes.
years old, and I get it. If they were on the street, Mike Tyson would beat him up in like 30 seconds or less. But
you think so? You think Tyson would have taken him out
on the street if they were on the street? Yeah.
Okay.
But this was we got to go 4 rounds. I can't knock him out because I got to get this money in. The marketing, he walks up to him in his underwear at the pre-fight and slaps him, and everybody's all, "Oh my gosh." He's 58 years old, going up against some random what's I don't even know what his title is. I guess is he a fighter for real?
Isn't he kind of like
he's a celeb
martial boxer something?
He's all of that. But
and look, I gotta admit, I'm like you, Wisdom. I saw bits and pieces. I tried to watch it on Netflix, no shade on Netflix, but it was buffering. It went out.
Yeah.
Somebody's already suing them Netflix now,
right?
Because they couldn't get it. So that was kind of a mess. But I think in our last couple minutes, the way I look at it is, I mean, I came up during a time where boxing was it. You watching Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, Ali was at this point kind of on the tail end, but Hearns and Sugar Ray, Hearns and Hagler.
Right.
To me, this was just symptomatic of where boxing is.
Right.
It's really now just like a train wreck spectacle. Like folks want to see what's going to happen to this 58-year-old. And so I think the only good thing that came out of it is if you had Netflix already, you didn't have to really pay for it other than your monthly subscription. But is boxing in our last 2 minutes here? I think dead is too extreme of a word, but is boxing even at that level now where it's appointment viewing, or do we call mixed martial stuff kicking people in the face boxing? I don't even call that boxing. I don't even know what that is. I won't even watch that.
I think it's the heyday is falling off. Like you could tell that was very scripted. Well, the WWE does a better job of pretending than what that was. But I think there's not those premier guys that are heavyweights. Like we grew up in, you had the 80s with the Haglers and all that. Then the 90s, it was Tyson and Bo and Lennox. And you're like, yeah, we want to see these. Now it's like that division's fallen off. And so now all the best fighters are small. Like it's all this buildup, and then you don't really see good fights. The fights aren't entertaining. And I think that's boxing's problem. Like it's very good technical boxers, but if you're not really into boxing, it's going to be like, okay, they're kind of just dancing around and no one's really doing anything. So they have a product problem of marketability. And it was similar to what the NBA went through for a time where it was unwatchable. So I think that's where it's going to have to change, but it's not on the ascent, definitely. And it's kind of flatline right now. So I think you got to get some good young stars that can really bring the promotion back up and make people draw back interest in, or they're all going to go to MMA, which is a joke anyway. Yeah.
Well, he is Felix Trammell, Commander Beat Reporter for 1340 AM Fox Sports out of Richmond, Virginia, and Wisdom Martin, news anchor with WUSA Channel 9, and also author of Pass Interference, History of the Black Quarterback in the NFL. Folks, make sure you get out there and get that book. Wisdom, Felix, thank you so much. As usual, always enjoy getting the chance to talk sports, and I had fun. Thank you, fellas, for being with us tonight.
Appreciate you having us.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
All right. Take care. Right.
That's the Daily Drum for this Thursday, November 21st. I'm Bramante Bryant in for Harold Fisher. Have a great night.